Good afternoon and welcome to the ACNC's webinar on reporting information to the ACNC. I'm Kate McFarlane, a Senior Policy and Education Officer here at the ACNC, and I'll be moderating today's session. Our presenter today is Mark Dowling, Senior Accountant here at the ACNC. Throughout Mark's presentation, I'll be asking some frequently asked questions. Hi Mark.
Hi Kate, and hello to everyone who's joined us here today.
With us today, we also have Eric Lee from our reporting team, Natasha Sekik from our legal team, Abdi Mohammed from our advice services team, and Sam Laurie, our guidance and education manager. Natasha, Abdi, Sam and Eric will be answering all of your questions live throughout the webinar. If you'd like to ask a question, you can type it at any time in the GoToWebinar panel, which should appear on the right-hand side of your screen. Use the chat or question box to ask a question. We will answer your questions directly and privately, but if we think the answers would be useful for everyone, we can also respond to everyone. This will show the question and our reply. So let us know if you want your question to be private. All attendees will be able to see the questions that we respond to and our answer. We suggest you keep your questions general rather than very specific in a way that identifies your charity. If there are any questions we can't answer during the webinar today, which may happen if we get a lot of questions or very complex questions, we will provide answers at a later stage by email. Just a few more tips before we get started. If you have any difficulties with the sound on your computer, try calling the phone number listed in the GoToWebinar panel. You will also have been given an access code in the email you were sent by GoToWebinar when you registered. This webinar will be uploaded on our website after the session today at acnc.gov.au/webinars. We call our annual information statement AIS. To save time, you will hear us use AIS throughout the presentation. Finally, we value any suggestions you have to improve our webinars in the future. So please pass on your suggestions in the survey at the end of the session. I'll now hand you over to Mark to begin.
Thanks, Kate. All charities have reporting obligations to the ACNC. This means submitting an online information statement each year and a financial report if required. We call this statement the Annual Information Statement, and we will refer to it as an AIS throughout the webinar for convenience. This session aims to help you understand what your charity's obligations are and how to meet them. First of all, we'll look at when charities have to submit their statements and any other reports. These are the due dates. I will then talk about all of the information you need to report in the AIS and financial report if you're a medium or large charity, focusing mainly on the 2015 reporting period. The 2014 AIS was the first year that charities had to answer financial information questions in the statement, as well as submit a financial report if they were medium or large. We have analysed the financial information and financial reports from 2014, and we'll be providing some tips today to help you avoid the most common errors. I'll cover these in the section Getting Financial Reporting Right. Some charities have to report to more than one government agency or need support to transition over to meeting financial reporting obligations, sometimes for the first time. We will take a look at the arrangements the ACNC has in place to support this transition. We will then briefly look at how to submit your AIS and financial report through the ACNC's online platform, the Charity Portal. Finally, we will cover off on ways you can prepare to report in advance rather than leaving it to the last minute. We have a lot of helpful guidance online that I will run through, including information about your record-keeping obligations, because when your charity keeps good records, it makes reporting easier. When do I report? Your AIS is due within 6 months of the end of your reporting period, but we encourage you to submit it as soon as you can so you won't forget. Most charities use the default reporting period, which is the financial year, running from 1 July to 30 June. So if your reporting period ends on 30 June, you have until 31 December to submit your AIS. If you want to report on a reporting period that is not 1 July to 30 June, you can request a different reporting period. This is also called a substituted accounting period. You may wish to do this, for example, if you report on a calendar year, to align your reporting to other agency requirements. You can also apply for a different reporting period through the charity portal. But please remember to apply before your reporting period starts. It's a good idea to think about doing your AIS after your annual general meeting, if you have one. At this meeting, most charities will present a report to their members that outlines the work they've done throughout the year and a financial statement which explains how the charity used its finances. This is exactly the sort of information you will require to complete your AIS. Or alternatively, you could present a completed 2015 AIS worksheet at the annual general meeting, with all of the 2015 AIS questions answered. Some charities may require board or committee approval on these answers prior to submitting their AIS. The Acnc has prepared a template worksheet. It's available on our website to assist you with this.
Thanks, Mark. Here's a question for you. What if my charity is registered within 3 months of the end of its reporting period? For example, if the end of my reporting period is the 30th of June 2015 and the date of my charity's registration decision was the 5th of April 2015.
Thanks, Kate. The Acnc's AIS policy provides an option for charities that essentially registered or received their registration decision within 3 months of year end. They can either report for the period from, in your case, 5th of April through to 30 June, which would be a period of 2 months and 26 days, or they could hold over and include the information in the next annual information statement and therefore report for the period of 5 April 2015 all the way through to 30 June 2016, which would be a reporting period of 14 months and 26 days. If you choose to report for a period that's 3 months or less, your charity will be able to report for a standard reporting period in the following year. You can provide the financial information in the AIS and financial report either for the full year, so for example you've been operating for the full year and only registered toward the end of the year, or for the period you have been operating. So you may have been operating if you're registered on the 5th of April from say 1 March through to 30 June. So there's a number of options there.
Okay, great. So if I'm registered within 3 months of the end of my reporting period, I've pretty much got 2 choices: report for that short period or hold off and then report for a longer period the following year. Great. Will my charity receive a reminder from the Acnc to report?
Yes, Kate, we send a reminder to your charity's address for service, and this is actually most commonly an email address, both before and after the due date. There will also be alerts in the charity portal, including a calendar reminder that you can download. We'll have a look at this a bit later on. You can also check your charity's register entry to see if it has a notice saying that the AIS is overdue.
What if my charity has a change in staff or something else happens and we forget to report, say for 8 months after the due date?
Okay, you would have been sent reminders after the due date and had alerts on the charity portal, but these things can happen. Red marks will now appear on the Acnc charity register for charities that are more than 6 months late in their reporting obligations. This helps the public identify charities that are not up to date with their obligations.
So if my charity has a red mark and then we submit our AIS, will this remove the red mark?
Yes, the red mark will be removed, but the submission date will remain. That will actually show the public that you were late for that reporting period.
Okay.
What information do I report? It is important to know your charity size according to Acnc requirements. Your charity's reporting obligations change depending on the size of your organisation. Other obligations can vary too, but today we are focusing on reporting obligations. Your charity size is determined by its annual revenue. If your annual revenue is less than $250,000, you're a small charity. If your revenue is between $250,000 but less than $1 million, you're medium. And if your annual revenue is in excess of $1 million, you're considered to be a large charity. We'll talk about revenue a bit more later on, but for more information after this webinar, you can go to acnc.gov.au/charity size. You may also have different reporting obligations because you are part of a transitional arrangement, or you may have assessed your charity as being what the Acnc Act calls a basic religious charity. This is a small segment of unincorporated charities that only advance religion. For more information about basic religious charity requirements, please visit our website at acnc.gov.au/basic religious charity.
I have another question for you, Mark. What if an unusual event happens in my charity and we receive a lot of money which pushes us into a different charity size category? For example, what if my charity receives a large bequest that moves us from being a small charity into a medium charity for that year?
Okay, if your charity size changes and you think it's just a one-off and it's likely to return to its former size in a future reporting period, you can apply to the Acnc for your charity to continue to report to its traditional size, so the size from the prior year. So in this case, if you applied, you would be able to report for the 2015 period as a small charity. You can apply by submitting a Form 4D, apply to keep your charity size, which is accessible via our forms page at acnc.gov.au/forms. Please do this before your reporting is due, so we can allow, where applicable, for your charity to report according to its usual size.
So charity size is based on annual revenue. Mark, can you explain what revenue is?
Sure. Revenue is generally income that arises through the ordinary course of activities of a charity. Examples are things such as government and other grants, donations or tithes, bequests or legacies, sale of goods, or inflows from other fundraising activities. Also includes fees and charges for the provision of services, as well as any interest earned on your investments or dividends or other similar distributions. Revenue is generally not gains on the sale of assets. For the example, the sale of a motor vehicle or a disposal of some real estate that may, if you move premises. Also generally excludes gains on foreign currency transactions, as well as the forgiveness of liability or debt. These examples are generally not recognised as revenue because they do not happen in the ordinary operations of a charity, but instead influence the total income of the charity. If you need help with working out your revenue and charity size, Accounting for Good has developed a free charity size calculator, which you can get via our charity size page, which is available at acnc.gov.au/charity size.
We often receive questions around raffle tickets. What if my charity sells raffle tickets one year to raise money? Is this considered revenue?
Yes, Kate. Selling raffle tickets is fundraising, and fundraising is usually revenue that arises in the ordinary course of activities for a charity, as fundraising is an accepted part of what most charities do. It doesn't matter if it's one-off or an ongoing fundraising effort. Remember too that states' fundraising legislation may also apply, and you may need to meet state and territory regulator requirements. What information do I report? You can view all of the questions we ask in each AIS by reading the AIS guide or AIS worksheet each year. The AIS also includes non-financial questions on your charity's activities. A number of these, where possible, are populated from the prior year's AIS. In the 2015 AIS, we asked the following information about your charity is current and accurate on the ACNC register. We asked whether your governing document, which are your constitution, trust deed, etc., is accurate, up to date. Your responsible entity details. These are details of your committee or board members are up to date and accurate. And that your charity's registered subtype, which is determined based on your charitable purpose, is also up to date and accurate. Before you begin your 2015 AIS, I recommend you review your charity's register page to make sure everything is current and accurate. You can go straight to your charity's profile page on the register through a link on the landing page of the portal. If they are not current, you can update them through the charity portal while you are there, before you go on to complete your AIS. The financial information questions are based on income statement and a balance sheet extract. For a small charity, this comprises about 9 questions or 9 line items. If you're a medium charity, there are 12 questions. If you're a large, this extends to 15 questions.
And do the AIS questions change each year?
For example, the 2013 AIS didn't include any financial information questions. These came on from the 2014 AIS onwards. We have updated the 2014 and 2015 AIS based on an extensive consultation and feedback process. And we've just finished a consultation process for the 2016 AIS. The AIS will not vary much, but we always aim to meet the needs of the sector while meeting our requirements as a regulator. So therefore we may make some minor adjustments from time to time.
And why does the ACNC collect information in the AIS?
Good question, Kate. We often get asked this. We use the information you submit, including the financial information, in a number of different ways. We publish the information, excluding any personal information, of course, on the ACNC register. We also use the information for the purposes of administering the ACNC Act, which includes assessing your entitlement to registration and compliance with the ACNC Act. These are called recognised assessment activities. We may share the information you provide to other authorised Australian government agencies. The idea of this is to remove the need for these agencies to ask you for the same information. We also share it with the research community through data.gov.au. This contributes to the accountability and transparency in the charity sector. We also analyse the information internally so we can provide simple financial and other information to the charity sector, which comprises donors, volunteers and the public, to build a greater understanding. Actually, just last Friday, we launched our research report based on all of the data from the 2014 AIS. This report has been very well received and is available at australiancharities.acnc.gov.au. We also compare information over reporting periods in order to monitor trends. This helps us guide our work with the charity sector. What information do I report? As mentioned on the previous slide, size affects the number of financial information questions we ask in the AIS, but it also affects whether you have to apply the accrual basis of accounting, whether you need to submit an annual financial report. And if you need to submit an annual financial report, it determines whether that financial report can be reviewed or audited. I'm talking about the requirements for charities that do not fall into the category of basic religious charities or who may be covered by other transitional reporting arrangements. If you're a small charity, you can choose to submit a financial report. It is optional. But if you provide the financial report, you do have an option of using cash or accrual accounting. Both medium and large charities from 2015 must submit a financial report and use accrual accounting. The type of statement is either a general or special purpose financial report. And which one you use is based on whether your charity is considered to be a reporting entity. Medium charities must have their financial reports either audited or reviewed, and large charities must have their financial report audited unless, as we said before, they're covered by a transitional arrangement. The charity's constitutional governing document or grant funding agreement may state the type of financial report your charity must prepare and whether the financial report needs to be subject to an audit or a review.
We have a number of helpful guidance pages on our website to help explain the concept or many of the concepts that Mark has mentioned, such as cash and accrual and review or audit. You can see the web addresses on your screen now. We also have links to helpful external guidance on those same pages. We are looking at developing further guidance and education in this space and appreciate any suggestions you have. Please remember to tell us in the feedback survey after the webinar. Mark will now briefly touch on special and general purpose financial statements, as we are commonly asked questions on these.
Thanks, Kate. Financial reports can either be general or special purpose. The Acnc will accept either type, so long as your charity has met the requirements under the Acnc regulations. These regulations state that your charity's financial reports must meet applicable Australian accounting standards and provide a true and fair view of your charity's financial position, which is often considered its net wealth, and its performance, so how it's actually gone. To decide which type of financial statement your charity needs to prepare under the Australian accounting standards, your charity must work out whether it is a reporting entity or not. Basically, if people use and rely on your charity's financial information to help them make decisions, for example, whether they should donate to your charity, then your charity is more likely to be a reporting entity. To help you decide, you can ask yourself the following questions. Is there a spread of membership? Or is there a level of separation between management and members, as well as other important stakeholders? Does your charity have significant economic or political importance or influence? Is your charity large in size? Or do they have a high level of sales, high level of assets, or potentially debts or creditors? They may also receive funding from governments or other parties, or have a large number of employees. If your charity answers yes to a number of these questions, it's more likely the charity is a reporting entity. Your auditor may also have a view as to whether your charity is a reporting entity or not. If your charity is not a reporting entity, it can submit a special purpose financial report to us. This means you must, at a minimum, apply the following 6 financial statements, which we'll cover in the next slide, to the extent that they are relevant. If your charity is a reporting entity, it must submit a general purpose financial report that applies with all applicable accounting standards. You can work out whether your charity has prepared a general purpose financial report in the past by looking at the basis of preparation note in the financial statements. In just about all instances, this is note 1. Your charity can choose, if they're preparing a general purpose report, to report under the reduced disclosure regime. This allows significantly less disclosure in the notes to the financial statements. We'll now look at the minimum 6 standards. These are the 6 mandatory accounting standards that are required under the Acnc Act. If you're preparing a special purpose financial report, you must at a minimum comply with all 6 of these standards. To achieve a true and fair view, your special purpose reports may also need to comply with additional standards as applicable. For example, you may need to provide related party disclosures. You don't need to remember in detail all of the accounting standards. You can always refer to them at the Australian Accounting Standard Board's website, which is at www.asb.gov.au.
Mark, what if my charity is preparing general purpose financial statements? Do I have to comply with these 6 accounting standards?
Yes, Kate, it would be these 6 accounting standards as well as all other applicable accounting standards. Financial reporting for charities. Medium and large charities are required to prepare a financial report. Small charities can prepare one if they choose to. It's optional. A financial report includes a statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income, a statement of financial position, a statement of changes in equity, a statement of cash flows, as well as notes to the financial statements. A responsible person's declaration must also be included and must be signed and dated by a responsible person from the charity, such as a treasurer. For medium charities, it also needs to include a review or audit report that is signed and dated. For large charities, it must include an audit report that is also signed and dated. We have a template responsible person's declaration available on our website at acnc.gov.au/templates. Look under financial reporting templates. We also have a list of everything that is included in a financial report in our reporting checklist, which is available at acnc.gov.au/2015 AIS checklist.
Mark, as part of the 2014 reporting process, the Acnc reviewed a selection of AIS submissions and annual financial reports. Based on this, we've identified 10 tips to support charities to report correctly in the financial information section of the AIS and the annual financial report. What are the 5 tips for getting the financial information in the AIS right?
Thanks, Kate. Number 1, know your charity size. Many charities confused their size and ended up reporting incorrect financial information. You need to know your size. Just to clarify, size is based on annual revenue and not your total income. Number 2, know your financial report type. Medium and large charities are asked whether the financial report is prepared on a general or special purpose basis. As mentioned before, you can find this on note 1. If you're not sure, you can ask your auditor or reviewer. Number 3, will you assess as a basic religious charity? You need to know the requirements. In order to qualify as a basic religious charity, which is a particular type of charity permitted under the legislation, there are a number of specific requirements you need to meet. For example, if you are unincorporated or registered under certain legislation, you may not meet the requirements. You can learn about all of these requirements at acnc.gov.au /basic religious charity. Number 4, check the financial information you enter is correct. Make sure your totals agree and whole numbers are used. There's no rounding or decimals. Remember to provide financial information in the AIS is the 5th tip. This is required even if you didn't conduct activities throughout the year. Please provide this even if you enter nil amounts for each question.
What about the 5 tips for getting the annual financial report right?
That's okay. Number 1, remember to include all of your financial statements. A number of financial reports that we checked through were missing things such as the cash flow statement or a statement of changes in equity. If you're not sure what to include, you can always check the AIS guide or checklist, both found at acnc.gov.au/2015 AIS. Number 2, as previously discussed, special purpose financial reports need to comply with a minimum 6 accounting standards. A number of the reports didn't comply with some of the standards or really key portions of the standard. Number 3, in the notes to your financial statements, there must be an accounting policy note. This should contain adequate accounting policies disclosure. For example, there should be a policy in relation to how your charity recognises revenue. Next tip, make sure you provide sufficient detail of transactions between related parties and your key management personnel. As an example of related parties, this could be who is a related party. It's generally defined in the accounting standards, but essentially it's someone who is generally a responsible person or their close family member. Key management personnel are people that have the authority and responsibility for planning, directing and controlling the activities of the charity, either directly or indirectly, including any responsible person, whether they're an executive or otherwise. Compensation is when they receive a benefit, which can include payment or supply of goods and services. And finally, last tip, remember to attach all of the required documents. All these documents are listed in the AIS checklist and guide.
And what happens if I take all the steps above and submit my charity's financial report, but later realise it's incorrect? For example, the directors of my charity board haven't signed it.
If that happens, Kate, you must notify the Acnc of any material error or omission in relation to your financial report within 60 days if you're a small charity, or within 28 days if you're medium or large. The easiest way to notify us is by email to advice@acnc.gov.au. So essentially just prepare an email that just outlines your situation, and our helpful advice staff will be able to assist. If the error is an omission in your financial report and it's been updated, you can attach an updated or new financial report to this email. If the error or omission is in the annual information statement, you can tell us what the mistake or missing information is in the body of the email, and we will reset the AIS back to in progress for you to complete. This slide looks at transitional arrangements. Some charities have reporting obligations to other government agencies, including other regulators. While we work with them to reduce red tape for charities, we have transitional arrangements in place to reduce the burden. In particular, we have arrangements with the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, the Office of the Registrar of Indigenous Corporations, or ORIC, as well as state or territory regulators for incorporated associations, cooperatives, or charitable fundraisers. We also have a kind of comprehensive transitional arrangements in place for schools who report to the Department of Education and Training. To find out more about each of the arrangements, please go to acnc.gov.au/transitional reporting, or you can ask your question in the GoToWebinar question box now. There's some additional, I'm going to now discuss some additional transitional arrangements. So firstly, if your charity did not submit a full financial report or prepare comparative information for the 2014 reporting period, and it continues to be a non-reporting entity and prepare a special purpose financial report, we have a transitional arrangement in place that you do not need to provide 2014 comparative information in the 2015 financial report. We also have an additional arrangement where we have extended the reporting period for 30 June entities out from 31 December up to 31 January 2016. So giving you 7 months to submit your 2015 AIS. This is to allow for the summer holiday period when our office will be closed for several days. We still encourage charities to submit the AIS as soon as possible rather than waiting till the last minute, as sometimes our IT systems have been known to be a tad slow when dealing with the last minute rush.
Thanks, Mark. And just to confirm that again, those charities that use a standard reporting period from the 1st of July to the 30th of June have an extension to the 31st of January 2016.
Correct, Kate. The Commissioner has exercised her discretion on that one.
Excellent. Okay, so just looking at how you actually report, you submit your AIS and financial reports using the online Acnc charity portal. You can access the charity portal from our homepage at acnc.gov.au. If you click on any of the buttons highlighted in yellow, you'll be directed through to the portal login page.
So Kate, with the portal, what if I've forgotten my charity portal password?
It happens to us all, Mark. If you've lost or forgotten your password, you can reset it from the login page to the charity portal. You'll need to be a responsible person, an authorised person, or an agent of the charity to be able to reset the password and use the portal. You will need your charity's ABN and contact details, and will also need to be able to answer a number of questions about your charity. We use these answers to confirm that you are authorised to reset the password on your charity's behalf. Now, once you've logged into the charity portal, you'll see a landing page with a series of alert icons, including ones about reporting and needing to add missing information. In the top left corner, there is a button that says Submit Annual Information Statement, which is shown in our slide as circled in yellow. Select this link to start filling in the AIS form. During the process of completing your AIS, you'll be asked to upload your financial reports if required. I will now talk through all of the guidance and tools to help you prepare to report. For each reporting period, we have a landing page that includes all of the guidance and tools for that period. To access the page, just type in acnc.gov.au/the year followed by AIS. Here is the landing page for the 2015 AIS found at acnc.gov.au/2015 AIS. The blue buttons you can see include tools to help you to prepare to report. There's the checklist with everything you need to think about to do to report. It includes a list of records you should have on hand to help you report, as well as many other tips of things to consider. There's the guide, which looks at each AIS question in detail and explains what we are asking and provides examples. There's the worksheet, which Mark has mentioned, which is a Word document with all of the 2015 AIS questions. A lot of charities use this to prepare their answers offline and then cut and paste them into the AIS form once they log online. The purple button takes you to the charity portal to submit, and we are currently looking at drafting the 26 guidance and tools, and they'll be coming next year. We also have guidance specific for charity size. Each charity size page includes a downloadable 2015 AIS guide. You can also access this information directly by using the web addresses on the screen. The format is /charity size reporting. For example, for small charity guidance, I would use acnc.gov.au/small reporting. The reporting web pages we have mentioned today can all be found under the Manage My Charity tab on the website at acnc.gov.au. If you hover over the Manage My Charity tab, a menu will drop down. Select Report Annually. On the second drop-down menu, you'll see the first page is about reporting due dates, then reporting by charity size. There are other important pages, including one on transitional reporting arrangements and cash and accrual accounting, for example. If you are ever in doubt about reporting guidance, always return to the Manage My Charity tab, visible on every page of the website, or type the address on your screen, acnc.gov.au/reporting. When you click on the Manage My Charity tab, in the drop-down menu just above the highlighted Report Annually, there is a menu item called Record Information. Keeping records is another obligation that all registered charities have. Keeping records will help with reporting and help your charity do its work efficiently. I'll now hand over to Mark to briefly talk you through record keeping obligations.
Thanks, Kate. Records provide an account of your organisation's activities, and are also a useful basis for sharing information with your stakeholders or helping the people involved in your charity remember what may have happened in the past in case they forget or there's a disagreement. To meet your obligations to the ACNC, you need to keep two kinds of records: operational and financial records. Operational records are documents that provide information about how your charity has been working towards its charitable purpose. Your records need to show that your charity is entitled to be registered as a charity and is meeting its obligations under the ACNC Act, as well as any other relevant taxation laws. We don't set out what kind of records charities have to keep, but it's a good idea to keep records such as your annual reports, any meeting agendas or minutes, operational plans, reports from events, and client records. Essentially, you should ask yourself whether you have records which will accurately record how your charity is working towards achieving its charitable purpose or purposes. The kinds of records you keep will vary depending on the type of work your charity does, as well as its size. Your charity must keep financial records. These are documents that accurately record and explain three key aspects of the financial activities for your charity. The records need to explain, firstly, how your charity spends or receives its money or other assets. These are its transactions. You should be able to clearly show where your charity received its funding and how it used the funding to achieve its purpose. Secondly, the charity's financial position. This is how much money and other assets it has and where they are stored. as well as any liabilities to, say, external parties. And thirdly, its performance, such as its budget and how it has performed against its budget. For more information, including a checklist to support you in meeting your record-keeping obligations, head to acnc.gov.au/record-keeping, which is the URL at the bottom of the screen.
We've covered a lot today and suggested a number of pages on our website. I've included the main pages on the slide. acnc.gov.au/reporting is our reporting landing page. This page links to all of the other reporting pages, so I recommend you note this one down. /reporting also includes links to a number of very helpful resources for charities, in particular financial reporting resources. You can contact us through our advice line on 13 ACNC between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Summer Time, Monday to Friday, or by email at advice@acnc.gov.au. Email is useful if you have a more complicated question. Our advice services team are very helpful and will do their best to support you. We are also very active on social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and have a range of videos on our YouTube channel. This concludes the formal presentation, but we'll stay online to answer questions for 10 minutes more. Thank you for joining us today and for asking your questions. The ACNC runs webinars for charities on a broad range of topics. You can visit our webinar page to watch previous webinars at acnc.gov.au/webinars. We are developing our program for 2016, and the new dates and registration links will be up on our webinar page in the next few weeks. We'd appreciate any feedback you have so that we can make improvements for future webinars. Please let us know in the survey at the end of the webinar. You can also get in touch with the ACNC education team directly at education@acnc.gov.au. Thanks, Mark, for speaking with us today, and thank you to Natasha, Abdi, Sam and Eric for answering questions. And thanks for everyone for attending. Goodbye and see you next time.